everyone, it's Michelle from Scrap Secrets and welcome to another Sketch Sunday video. This week's sketch comes to you from My Favorite Things and there's a drawing of it, and as always there will be a link to the actual sketch below. It's sketch number 323. So today we're going to be using several different My Favorite Things stamp sets, and we are going to start out with the girl image from the You Have My Heart stamp set. We're going to be using a background stamp called Denim Background from My Favorite Things, and we're also going to be using the dog from Playful Pups. So I have the cardstock cut down. You saw the card base, and then you saw the interior pieces. So that is 3.5 by 4.25, and we're going to stamp the paw prints on it from the first stamp set, the You Have My Heart. So there's 3 different size paw prints in there. So I started off with the largest one and some My Favorite Things black hybrid ink, and I'm just dipping the stamp into the ink and turning it different ways so that it looks like a piece of pattern paper. Even going off the edges, because that makes it more realistic looking, like it's an actual piece of pattern paper and not just that you stamped it on there. So I stamped the big paw a couple times. Now I'm going back in with the medium paw, and I will fill in some of those spaces until the background is pretty much filled up, and then I'll go back in with the smallest paw print stamp, and then eventually I will go back in with the heart stamp that is on that set, which is You Have My Heart. It's a Birdie Brown stamp set from My Favorite Things. If you guys know anything about My Favorite Things, she is one of their designers that usually puts out at least one stamp set in each release. So we stamped up the heart with some My Favorite Things hybrid ink in Razzleberry. It's a hot pink color, and you will see why I chose this hot pink color in a minute once I finish up. So we're just switching the stamps to the heart, and then I'm going to be using that Razzleberry ink to ink up the stamp and put a couple of hearts on there. I thought that it looked a little bit too plain with just the paw prints on the back of it, and the girl is dangling a heart, so I thought that would look good and tie in the rest of the images with this background paper. So as you can see, I'm wiping off my craft mat because I got ink on it, and I will get ink everywhere if I don't clean it off as I go along. So just putting the last couple hearts on, again stamping some of them off the paper so that it looks like it was a pattern paper and it wasn't just something that I stamped. So that's my piece, and then there's a black piece that is 1/4 of an inch larger than that that will go behind it eventually. So I'm putting the stamps over the side so that I can clean them later, and getting ready to work on the card base. Now the card base is a top folding card, so the piece of paper is 8.5 by 5.5, so I scored at 4.25, so it gives me a nice, so that's the middle of the 8.5 paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the paper in the MISTI tool, because we are going to be using that denim background stamp. Now if you're using the MISTI with this, you want to make sure that the black pad that comes in the bottom of this is removed from there, because it will be too raised up with a cling back stamp. With the regular clear stamps, it's not a big deal, but with these red rubber stamps, you want to make sure that that foam is out of there so that it stamps nicely. So I just had to go get some washi tape. I thought I had some on my table, but I did not. So all I'm doing is masking off right on top of the fold. I'm putting it on my arm so that it takes some of the stickiness off of it so that it doesn't rip my cardstock. But I'm lining it up just so that just the very edge of it is covered, and then just in case the stamp stamps a little bit over the fold, I picked an extra wide washi tape to take care of that. So I made sure to move it up enough so that the background stamp wouldn't get on to too much of the washi tape and above. So now we're going to be using some Recollections Ombre ink. It goes from pink to purple, and the color theme of this card obviously is pink and purple. So I'm just dabbing it on all over the place. you really should do like a cha-cha back and forth, as you see here, up and back, just to kind of get no harsh lines in this. And the nice part about this is you can go over it several times and you'll get different layers of colors, so it won't be all purple in one spot and all pink in another spot. So just going back over this several times to make sure that I get as much of the area covered as I can. And I get pretty much everything covered except for the very top. I really didn't care for the way that looked once I pulled the washi tape off of it, but we'll fix that in a minute. So that's the background, and then I'm just going to clean off the stamp and put it to the side, cover up the ink, and we're going to get ready to work on the next part. Put the MISTI to the side and just clean off the stamp. So the next part is just, I'm just putting the pieces together to see how it's going to look. I didn't know whether I wanted to center it, and I was just trying to figure out where the images needed to go, so I wasn't really sure. So now I'm going to start off with the coloring of the image. So I did not put in the coloring of the dog because it's kind of the same procedure going back and forth. So I'll tell you the colors that I used for the girl, and then I'll tell you the colors that I used for the dog. So I used Y00 for the lightest color of her hair. Then I went in with some Y13, which is lemon yellow, for the middle tone. I went back in with some Y18 for the darkest shade. Now for her face, the darkest shade that I used was E11. I went back in with two lighter shades, E00, and then I went back in with some E000 to blend that out. For her dress, I used another Copic marker. I used R32 for the pink part of her dress. Then I went in with a hashtag coloring marker, which I got those from Michael's, in R17. And that's just to do the shadow on her dress. The skirt of her dress is going to be the R32, and then the R17 is just a little bit of a shadow. Then I went in with a Copic marker to do the top of her dress, and that is V17. And I went in for some highlighting with V7, and you can see that on the boots. Some of the darker parts where the lines are, I used that to color that in. And then for the heart with the girl, I used a Premier by Nicole marker. Now this is one that I got at AC Moore, and it's called Bright Pink. And you'll see that. It's a little bit different than the other markers, but these are all alcohol-based markers. I believe the coloring markers are also alcohol-based. I'm not positive. So then on the dog, I used 3 different shades of Copic. I used E97, which is deep orange. I colored the whole dog in that first. Then I went in with E99, which is called Baked Clay. And then for the highlights, I went in with E15. So you'll see that I'm just going back in and going and blending the colors once I put the darker pink on there. And that's just kind of what I do. I'm not great at coloring. I just kind of do what I think is going to look right, and I just start to color and then mix the colors together, and I pick colors that I think are going to go well together. It doesn't always turn out that way, but I was pretty happy with the way this this girl turned out. So for these, you also aren't going to see me fussy cut these because it takes a really long, it doesn't take a long time, but I didn't think you guys wanted to see that on camera. So I took my Fisker scissors that you see in the back there, the blue, the 2 shades of blue scissors, and then I went and I cut everything. And then I took my X-Acto knife and I actually cut out in between her legs and then right by the heart. I didn't get everything because it is such a delicate feature, but that's just, I just wanted to get it as close as possible to the black lines. Then I took, as you'll see after I'm finished coloring and I come back to the scene, you will see that I took a black marker, which is a Studio G marker, and it's just a plain black marker, nothing special about it, and I went around the edges to cover up the white lines. I didn't do such a great job, especially with the dog, cutting out of the dog. Not a great job. So I used that black marker so that you don't see any of the white paper. So here you go. I'll show you. That was the black marker that I used, and I just went around the edges of all the images so that it would give it a little bit of a finished look. So Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the banner that goes at the bottom. These are cut out from a My Favorite Things die. It's one that I got when it was really on clearance, so I don't think they have this one anymore, but it was, they interlock together, which is really nice. So I decided that I wanted to write the sentiment on these, but I kind of wanted to do an ombre look like I did with using the Recollections ink pad. So I'm using 2 colors of distressed ink, picked raspberry and seedless preserves, and I'm just going along the edges. I don't know how I was going to do it. I wanted to do, I thought, pink at the top and the bottom, but then I realized sponging the purple on was a little bit difficult because the sponge was so, I put too much ink on it, so I decided to just go purple at the bottom, pink at the top, and then they would kind of meet in the middle like the ombre ink is. So I'm just going over this until I really like the color of it. I'm going back and forth and blending the best that I can. It's going to be a very soft color blend instead of a very vibrant color. I just wanted it to be a little bit in the background. I also wanted it to match with her dress. That's why I picked those colors for distress inks and also for the colors of her dress. So now I'm cleaning off my mat because, again, I don't want to get any of that distress ink on anything else that I just spent all that time coloring. So I actually moved that craft mat out of the way in a minute. So now we're going to use this corner chomper by We Are Memory Keepers, and I used the 1/4 of an inch to round all the corners of that pattern paper that we created, as well as the black piece of cardstock that's going to mat it. I used my ATG gun to put glue on the back of the pattern paper that we created and glued that down. And then I wanted to see how it would look on the back of the, or on the front of the card. I thought that I knew exactly where I wanted it to go, but I wasn't sure, and I keep cleaning off the mat because, again, it doesn't look like it's clean, so I wanted to just move it out of the way so I didn't get ink all over everything. So I'm just laying out my pieces just to make sure that everything looks right, and now I'm going to glue on the front before I get ready to work on that banner piece again that I just created. So I wanted it close to the top because I didn't stamp very well on the top, but also it helps with the banner piece that's down at the bottom. So I wanted to take the washi tape off because I'm actually going to cut some of these off. One didn't stamp very well on the top pink piece. I made sure that one was on the end. There was one piece that got cut off when I ran it through the Cuttle Bug. And the bottom piece is going to say birthday, the top one's going to say happy, and then there's going to be one diamond on each end where the images are going to sit. So I was just counting it out just to make sure that I cut off the right diamond and didn't accidentally cut off too many. And then I'm going to take this white Faber-Castell pen and write happy birthday on it. But as I'm going along, the beginning, it looks fine, and then as it starts to dry, it starts to fade back into the distress ink, and you really can't see it. I wanted it to be a vibrant color, so I'll fix that in a minute, but I just wanted to get this put together, and then it took me a second to realize what I wanted to do. I'm just checking to make sure that it's dry because I want to put the pieces on there now. So I'm taking my Zig 2-way glue pen and just putting lines of glue on the back of it and a line all the way down the middle so that all the pieces will stick down to the card, because all those little points will actually start to come up if you don't get glue on them. So do that, and then do the same exact thing for the top piece. So, and then put them together, because the nice part about this die, like I said, is that they do interlock, so you'll see that they fit in nicely like a little puzzle. And just putting the images on the front just to see where I thought they wanted to go. I wanted to pop up, I wasn't sure if I wanted to pop up both of them, but I knew that I at least wanted to pop up the dog. So I'm taking, these are actually the outer pieces from those dollar bin pop dots from Michaels. So save all of them because you can cut them down and use them as strips for things. So they really work well because those have, it has the pop dot on both sides of it. It's just not a circle, so you can actually use it like a pop dot. So I popped the dog up, then I went back in with my ATG and I put glue on the back of her, and then went back in with the Zig 2-way glue pen to glue down the pieces that were on the edges that the ATG just couldn't get to. So now I'm taking a Pilot V5 black pen and I'm tracing over all of the letters so that it's kind of a bubble outline with a faded white interior. So just going over everything, and it's my handwriting, so it's not perfect, but this is going to a 3-year-old. I actually help out with this charity called Angels of God, and they do a Sprinkle Squad program, which is where they do birthday things for children who are in need, and also people who are in nursing homes who don't have a family by. So this card is actually going to a little girl, and I'm going to drop it off tomorrow. So there is the finished image. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!